Vampires have been a staple in storytelling for centuries. There's just a certain allure and fascination that people have when it comes to these creatures. And I think we can all agree that the single greatest fictional representation of vampires to ever grace the big screen is without a doubt Twilight. And listen, we had seen these mythical beings portrayed as seductive monsters. We had seen them get interviewed. We'd even seen them as just a couple of lost boys. But Twilight expertly flipped the script by finally giving us what we had secretly always wanted vampires to be. Teenage heartthrobs that sparkle in the sunlight.
It's like diamonds.
You see, I was in elementary school when the first Twilight movie hit theaters, and that day, as I looked around the classroom, it was an absolute dude ranch, not a single female in sight. And that's because every girl skipped school to go see Twilight. This franchise had a hold on them.
You better hold on tight, Spider Monkey.
And while critics failed to understand this film's brilliance, its fans understood exactly what we had here. And that's the greatest love triangle of all time. Forget Bridget Jones's Diary and get Casablanca out of here. I mean, the Team Edward versus Team Jacob frenzy was absolutely wild. I remember girls literally breaking out into shouting matches at recess over who Bella should end up with. And at the time, I'll be real with you, 9-year-old Screen Stories had no idea what the hell was happening. To my eyes, arguing over a pale dude with abs and a tan dude with abs was a little silly, but in hindsight, this was genius, and not because either of the guys involved in the love triangle. You see, Bella is an extremely bland character, to say the least.
I don't really like the rain. Any cold, wet thing, I don't really.
Whoever cooked up her personality made sure to not add even an ounce of seasoning. No flavor, no spark, just empty mouth breathing. However, this is the genius at play, because most girls that were in the target demographic for Twilight could easily relate and envision themselves in Bella's shoes. Unfortunately, most girls just don't have the sauce to be an Elizabeth Swann, but a Bella Swan? Now that's actually pretty attainable.
Uh-oh. Stinky.
And hey, what girl wouldn't want a pale dude with abs and a tan dude with abs swooning over her, trying to win her favor? And when you really think about it, Bella kind of does nothing and yet is the center of attention. James wants to hunt her, Edward wants to date her, Jacob wants to date her, and the Cullens want to protect her. Everything revolves around her, and she doesn't really have to do anything to garner this attention. And does this not sound like a girl's dream? Stop me when I'm telling lies.
This whole thing, all of this, it's all about me.
You may be curious if I retroactively have a team that I support between Edward and Jacob, and after watching this movie with a critical eye, if you will, I've made my decision. I, Screen Stories, am Team Jacob. Yes, I know, Bella ends up with Edward, and in hindsight, Robert Pattinson's career went much better than Taylor Lautner's, but I don't care. Honestly, I always found Edward to be bizarre and weird. I mean, he's 104 years old trying to put the moves on a 17-year-old Bella? I don't know. I think I'll go with the werewolf.
So you're a werewolf?
Yeah.
Now, if I were to ask you to think of what the greatest movie scene in cinematic history is, some of you might say when Darth Vader sacrificed himself to take out the Emperor. Wrong. Some might think it's Gandalf making his final stand against the fiery Balrog and boldly proclaiming, "You shall not pass." Wrong. Others might think it's Andy Dufresne's triumphant escape from Shawshank. Wrong. None of these sequences, as incredible as they all are, have anything on the true greatest scene of all time. What is this breathtaking scene, you ask? I've got 2 words for you: vampire baseball. Yes, the baseball scene from Twilight is the absolute peak of filmmaking. We've seen vampires sleep in coffins before, We've seen vampires morph into bats before, but never have they partaken in America's favorite pastime.
Since when do vampires like baseball?
Well, it's the American pastime.
I mean, Alice displays the greatest pitching technique I've ever seen. Granted, I almost never watch baseball, but the stupid, really cool leg kick-up thing she does before every pitch is absolutely iconic, and would 100% increase the speed of her pitches. You don't need to scientifically attempt to prove that or anything, trust me, the math backs it up. And typically movies are filmed in regular lighting because they're trying to replicate how our eyes see the world, and want viewers to be able to see everything that's happening. But this baseball scene, and really the entire movie, pushes the boundaries of filmmaking as we know it. It went blue mode on us. By color coding the entire scene an odd shade of blue, it lets us know that this scene is simply built different. You are watching perfection both in front of and behind the camera. This scene also doesn't receive nearly enough credit for seamlessly transitioning into a tense standoff between the Cullen family and the trio of James, Victoria, and Lauren, the human-killing vampire type. And this sequence teases the possibility of these three vampires joining the baseball gang. But this would have simply been too much. The scene was already easily the greatest in cinematic history. More vampire baseball would have just been overkill. And when James, the tracking vampire of the trio, catches a whiff of Bella's scent,
You brought a snack.
who do we get the most aura-filled standoff in movie history? I mean, seeing all of these mostly pale and wimpy-looking vampires ready to go to blows is so intimidating. This is Suspense Building 101. If you can watch this standoff go down without getting chills, shit, you need to check your pulse because you might be dead. But this ending of the sequence is so great because it essentially starts a metaphorical ticking time bomb. We know Bella's relationship with the Cullens is going to lead to some sort of conflict, and from this moment onward, real ones were on the edge of their seat waiting for it, even if it did take us like 5 movies to eventually get there. Perhaps the biggest criticism that I've seen lobbied against this absolute misunderstood masterpiece is that we get very awkward performances from the main cast, and to retort this, I'll simply ask you, do we have very awkward performances here? Or do we have actors playing 3D chess and intentionally being awkward because, well, you know, teenagers are pretty cringe? And I actually think that this awkwardness helps build intrigue surrounding the Cullen family. Edward literally talks like that one weird edgy dude that somehow we all went to school with. You know the one I'm talking about. The dude who was into obscure media just for the sake of being into obscure media, and maybe even hit some Dragon Ball Z emotes in the hallway.
I'm the world's most dangerous predator. Everything about me invites you in. My voice, my face, even my smell.
Now I know sometimes it can be difficult to look in the mirror and be self-critical, but we were all once very cringe and awkward, especially when it came to flirting. In fact, I'd venture to say that a lot of us never grew out of this phase, so Twilight simply portrays flirting in teen romance as it truly is, and that's cringe as fuck. Anyways, if you made it this far, please let me know in the comments, have I convinced you that Twilight is indeed a misunderstood masterpiece, or do you think it's been rightfully panned by critics over the years? Also, please let me know some of your favorite misunderstood movies that you'd like to see me cover. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please feel free to check out some of my other content. I'll have a playlist with all of my misunderstood masterpiece style videos linked in the description. Until next time, peace.